I'd like to call the Monday, December 14th, Guthrie Public School Board of Education meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Here.
Watts.
Here.
Bennett Johnson.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Pearson.
Here.
Salee.
Here.
Pennington. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Please join me with standing for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now it's time for the presentation of the Certified and Support Employee of the Month.
Mr. Ogle?
Presenting the Support Employee of the Month will be Marty Jones, high school ag instructor. Be presenting the plaque and the Sonic gift card amount of $25 presented by the Lions Club.
Thank you. I am honored this evening to have had the ability to nominate Miss Michelle Hamby as the support staff of the month. In fact, I thought she was certified because she is just so much a part of the team and everything else. She's more to us than just a support staff. So for me, I made the mistake, and Mr. Ogle caught me. So thank you for taking care of me there. I promise that you will not find someone who is as devoted to her job more than Miss Hamby. I've spent many late nights calculating money, and she has waited until I have finished to go home. And one of those nights was extremely late, doing our meat sales that we were famous for, and she stayed till 7, 8. I don't know how late it was, going through every last detail because that's how meticulous she is for her job and how much of a passion she has for taking care of the finances there at the high school. She has gone above and beyond her contract and her contract time to ensure that our program specifically stays successful. We are privileged as ag teachers to have a wonderful financial secretary. In fact, without Miss Hamby, we would not be hard-pressed to receive all of that we have over the last, or we would be hard-pressed to receive all that we have over the last 2 years without her. Her dedication to the success of not only our students, but all of the students rings loud as you enter into her office. Every day after school, she has countless students that would visit her office, which to me is a true testament of the wonderful character about Miss Hamby, something that you don't necessarily find in all the people. Her dedication can be found by devoting her time to every single parent, student, or staff member that comes into the office. She makes sure that they are comfortable. In fact, you'll find Miss Hamby subbing in for our secretaries there in the main office and does so with a smile on her face and love in her heart as she continues her job as financial secretary and filling in, answering phone call stuff that I would never know how to do or have the patience for. So, additionally, she has countless times served as that substitute, going above and beyond yet again. As I mentioned earlier, I am without a doubt honored and humbled to have Miss Hamby as our financial secretary and have the privilege of nominating her as Employee of the Month. And I know without a shadow of doubt, she is the perfect example of a model employee and, of course, a true Guthrie Blue Jay. Thank you so much for allowing me to honor her. Miss Hamby, come forward and accept.
You guys don't run off after we get done. Take a picture of it. And presenting our certified is Susan Birdwell, Transportation Secretary.
Well, I get to introduce Mr. Ron Gillette as the certified employee of the month. And my paragraph is short but sweet. Ron Gillette has a true passion for what he does. Be it coaching or teaching, the one common denominator is his love for his students. Ron has no problem staying late to get ready for his busy week of coaching and teaching, and he's even there on the weekend just to make sure his kids are able to learn to the best of their abilities. Ron is dedicated, to say the least, but he exemplifies everything that there is to say he is a true educator. And I work with Ron wonderfully because he's constantly calling me, and I love Ron. It's
All right, thank you both for your service and thank you for the nominations.
Next, comments to the board by citizens registered to speak.
We have none.
Board members. Superintendent's report.
Okay. The first item that I have, many of you are aware that Bethany Public Schools, Bethany High School had a student that was critically injured in a football game this year. The student's name is Hudson Hawes, and he does have a relation here in our community as well. And during the course of the injury and subsequent first steps toward recovery of the young man who has paralysis essentially from his upper chest down, we took an offering in a football game, and then a certain portion of that money was matched by our football booster club as well. And I received, shortly after the last board meeting, a card from the family that I wanted to read here tonight. It says, Dr. Simpson and Guthrie Board of Education, words cannot express the gratitude we feel towards you. Because of your support, we have been able to focus our attention on Hudson and his healing. Your district's generosity toward a kid from Bethany is a tremendous example of God's grace and the Oklahoma standard. Please convey our appreciation to the faculty, staff, students, and patrons of your awesome district. Sincerely, the Hawes family. So I want to share that with you guys tonight. More news on the construction, a little bit of an update. The new roofs are virtually complete. The board members have at your table of aerials that were actually placed on Facebook by an aerial company today on behalf of the contractor, and I pulled them off and printed them out for you guys because I like the pictures. The thing that I like, all three buildings were finished ahead of schedule and under budget, and I've been very pleased with the responsiveness of our contractor. We had a couple of leaks this weekend. They were quickly in there, and they have been very responsive to our concerns and our needs. And in fact, and Graco Roofing from Edmond is the contractor, and they typically seek out our staff before we even report it if they know that there's been a leak. And I've talked to some of the teachers personally, and they've been very appreciative of that. And on top of all that, it looks pretty good, I think, from the sky. And that's, again, the first step of our bond projects. We'll begin our work on Central Elementary when school's out and try to get that accomplished over the summer. The next item, Delta Dental of Oklahoma has offered free tooth sealants to our 2nd and 6th graders. This will be done on-site at the school, and permission slips will be going home for any parents that want this service for their 2nd or 6th grader. And I had to educate myself on this a little bit because it's new since I was a 2nd or 6th grader of sealing the teeth to help prevent cavities, especially in youngsters that are at risk because of the formation of their teeth. They will also, if the teeth have already been sealed, they will inspect them to see if it needs additional work, and that will all be done free of charge if a parent wants to have that done. And we've worked it out with our staff, and we're trying to get that worked out on the scheduling. And they had enough openings to where they could extend that to Guthrie Public Schools, and so we accepted that.
That's great.
Tonight is the band concert at the Temple, and if we get out of here in enough time, we might get to go over and see some of that. And then tomorrow night is the vocal concert. Both are at the Temple and begin at 7 p.m. The next item that I wanted to cover is a highly significant piece of legislation on the national level that was passed this last week and signed into law. And so every Student Succeeds Act will now replace No Child Left Behind, and that is a highly significant thing for us as a school district. I've been listening at meetings and listening to what people are saying about it. It's still so new, and the legislation is over 100 pages and leaves a lot for interpretation. But this is what I've gleaned from all of this. It's not effective until the 2017-18 school year. And according to a representative from the State Department of Education at a meeting I was at Friday morning, this next school year will be a transition year, and we really don't know what that looks like yet. There are some thought that we may still have to follow the waiver, but again, this is so fresh that we really don't, the fine print is not down on what that year looks like. Essentially what it does, it retains testing for math and reading in grades 3 through 8 and 3 science tests during that period. It eliminates the highly qualified teacher requirement and no longer requires test scores as part of teacher evaluations. It restores more control to the individual states, including federal money. Now, what that looks like is definitely going to be something we watch carefully in the fine print. States will determine the academic standards to be used, and it will also increase accountability for charter and magnet schools. And the bill does not include Title I portability, which would have allowed public money to flow to private schools. Those were some of the bullet points that I've gleaned through meetings and also issued by State School Board Association and the Administrative Association. As the fine print gets put down and tested and discussed and debated, I will again share that with you as well. And that is my report.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along to the consent agenda. Do we have any items that need to be pulled or?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley.
Yes.
Watts.
Yes.
Bent Johnson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Salee.
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, rolling right along to the business agenda. Presentation of the 2014-15 audit by Putnam and Company, LLC.
Mr. Putnam is here tonight, and Mr. Schultz is here also if we have any questions as well. Thank you very much.
I'm pleased to be with you tonight to present the 14-15 audit, and I trust that you've got a copy of the report and our one-page executive summary for the report. One thing we try to be clear about in the executive summary is that this audit it's in a little different format than if you were General Motors or Walmart, so we have to put some language in there and say why it's different, that we don't have all the equipment in here, inventories, and we're primarily reporting on your cash and investments and the ins and outs of those items. And so the financial statements are a little different. It's just designed by the State Department to be that way, and we use the State Department's format in this. They like to see them come in. They like to compare from year to year, and they don't like us to make too many changes, so we have to use that language and qualify our reports sometimes. The other part of the executive summary highlights the changes in the fund balances for all the different funds that the district has, and you can see there that it's a year where things have stayed fairly constant. We increased our general fund balance $54,000, but the building fund decreased. We bought some land in conjunction with the new bond issue, and so that's why that one is down. But overall, the rest of those are pretty much the same. The activity fund shows that we've had some increase in activity in the activity fund, some additions to the fund balance there. As far as federal money that's coming in after the date of this report, June 30th, it's really, again, about the same as it was the prior year, where the federal money's been a little bit unpredictable, but I think you're doing a good job of handling that prediction, and it shows here on this page that we've got about the same amount that came in after the end of the year, so there's no distortion really in that fund balance in the general fund. It all goes into the general fund, but it's about the same as it was in the prior year. I brought with me tonight a new audit acknowledgement letter. The State Department, as you know, has been concerned about audit reports and the way they're presented. We've heard that some auditors doing a lot of presentations over the telephone and doing Skype presentations and things like that nowadays to save travel time and things. And I think that's the reason, just my analysis of it is that's the reason that the State Department now wants us to send a copy of your board minutes for tonight and the agenda for tonight, and along with my signature on this acknowledgement letter that we were here and presented the report in person. I think they prefer that. And another thing that was in the news recently, they questioned the firm having a lot of clean audit opinions, and I think what they meant there is that when they got the audit report, there were no findings or recommendations included in the report, and that's something we've strived to do from the beginning. We always, no matter how insignificant our comments might be, if we find some things that we think are good recommendations for improvement, we include those in the report. And again, if you've had a chance to look at this, we've got some things at the very back of the report where we found, a couple math errors on some invoices and situation where maybe we needed a signature. We wanted a little bit better documentation, but overall, we think you are doing a very good job with documenting expenditures and accounting for all the money that flows through Guthrie schools. And I thought I'd just open it up to questions at this point. If you had anything else you wanted to run by me.
I had a question. Recently in the news there was a teacher or principal that was turning in reimbursements for travel. Kind of made the news. So I'm just curious, should their auditors have found that? Is that something the board should have caught? I mean, who was...
That's a real good question.
Talking about McAllister, Superintendent?
Is that the superintendent? Okay, well yeah.
Doesn't have some credit cards involved in one of those two, and yeah, I think when we audit, we can't look at every transaction. We have to do some sampling. We have to use our professional judgment, pick things to look at. But credit cards is one of those areas you want to look at a little closer, and you always want to consider the internal controls. If you're in an environment where there are controls, you don't have to do quite as much oversight, and you can be satisfied a little quicker in your testing. But again, it's hard to say that the auditor should find that, but it's an area that should be looked at a little closer, I think. And
One thing, and we talked about this somewhat in the Finance Committee, but when that stuff came out, first thing I did was I went and visited the dentist to make sure. I knew that that the letters had gone to the board and as well as the State Department. But I wanted to verify that because I see so many things that I want to make sure that you guys were seeing all of that as well. And then, we have school credit cards. We are very cautious on the use of them and in fact, I checked with Vicki Biggs. I think I've used mine maybe 4 times a year, and it appeared that the use in that instance was, to say much greater is kind.
For Danny.
And I think, when people travel, we want to have that option for staff members if they don't have the means with which to front that money and then get reimbursed, but we still are very careful and cautious when they come back to verify those receipts and make sure that they reconcile, and make sure it was not only a legal expenditure but an appropriate expenditure as well. And we watch that very closely.
we use a couple of questionnaires at the beginning of the audit process. We try to cover what credit cards we've got, and we list them all out, put the card numbers, and so that we can follow those transactions and test those. And then we also do a questionnaire where we circulate among some of the staff members, see if they know of any fraud that might be going on. And that's what fraud's usually caught by someone that is working side by side with the person committing that fraud. So we think that's been helpful too, that people are pretty sincere filling out those forms, and if they think something there might be a problem, they usually bring it to our attention.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Wait just a second.
in order?
No, it's not an action.
Oh, it's not an action item? Okay. Recommendation, consideration, and action upon appointment of Bill Hodge, Dennis Schultz, and Doug Ogle as designated representatives of the Board of Education to conduct employee negotiations for 2016-2017 school year.
The board is required to designate individuals that will negotiate on behalf of the district with the GACT, and we typically do this at the same time that we approve the contract with Barlow Associates, which we approved in the consent agenda. So if there are any questions, myself or Dennis can answer them, but I'd recommend approval.
I move we approve the appointment of Bill Hodges, Dennis Schultz, and Doug Ogle as designated representatives of the Board of Education to conduct employee negotiations for the 2016-2017 school year.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes?
Bennett Johnson?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Salee?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay. Rolling along, number 10, proposed executive session for the purpose of discussing employment of personnel, FMLA requests, resignation, separation from employment, and transfer of position requests, all as set out on the personnel reports. Discussion of employment of temporary contract teachers as listed on Schedule A for the second semester of 2015-16 school year. Discussion of extra duty assignments for 2015-16 and periodic annual evaluation and terms of employment of Dr. Michael Simpson, Superintendent of Schools, disclosure of which information would violate the confidentiality requirements of state and/or federal law, all pursuant to 25 Oklahoma Statute Section 307B1 and 7. Vote to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes?
Bennett Johnson?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Salee?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, I'm going to acknowledge board's return to open session. Only items in agenda number 10 were discussed in executive session and no votes were taken. This shall constitute the executive session minutes. Vote on action as set out on the personnel reports.
I move we approve the action set out on our personnel reports. Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes?
Bennett Johnson?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Salee?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
Action upon recommendation to employ as temporary teachers for the second semester of the 2015-16 school year, the individuals listed on Schedule A of this agenda.
I make a motion we employ the temporary teachers for the second semester of the 2015-16 school year. Those individuals listed on Schedule A of this agenda.
Roll call, please.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Smedley?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes?
Bennett Johnson?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Salee?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, I'll breathe. Action upon recommendation of extra duty assignments as listed for 2015-16.
I move to approve the extra duty assignments listed for 2015-2016.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes?
Bennett Johnson?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Salee?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
Recommendation, consideration, and action to accept any resignation offered since the posting of this agenda.
We have none.
Discussion and possible action on new business not known about or could not have been reasonably foreseen at the time of the agenda posting.
We have none.
Yippee!
Madam President, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes?
Bennett Johnson?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Salee?
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, nobody